Okay.
Yeah, sure. Please, yeah, that's a good idea. Sorry.
And I'm recording it. So recording has started. Anyway, well, let's get back. Please mute
Yeah.
everyone. So what I was saying is, yeah. So we're talking about resources, shifts, and all. So early days, a lot of planners will give you some requirements like they don't want to work during Christmas, or in Christmas they want to have only one shift, or during Easter they want to have. See, these are all the scenarios that I have faced, and in New Zealand, in Australia, and all. They're very much particular. Not only in these two countries, in most of the countries where they want to plan ahead. So in the month of April or May, they want to know what their supply situation will be, and they want to see the supply plan in the month of May or June for December, for next year, and all. So, and it has to be realistic, and they know what is the situation, how many hours they work. So it could be they don't work at all. It could be they work 4 hours or during holidays. For every different periods, you can have different validity, and you can set up the sequences. Okay, so according to that, PPDs will go and plan. See, this is not only for PPDs. So what we do in our shift sequences, capacity variances for SNP and PPDs both. Okay, so you can have separate variants for simulation version also. So you can always have a different, when we talk about version management, so we'll talk about how to create a simulation version. So active version is your, where the planning, execution, everything happens. So we copy data from planning active version to simulation version. And simulation version is something to do what if scenarios. Okay. So we'll get into all those in detail. So I'm just trying to say that how important for you guys to know master data. Okay, so once we are, I would just add that here. I don't see that here. So before I start talking about APO master data, so we will be talking about APO version management. Okay, so here we'll define how many versions you want. There's something called model. There's something called version. I think you guys know about it, but still we'll create everything. We'll create. I'll show you how to create a model, how to create a version, and all this kind of things. Okay, so that we have to do before we start talking about product master, and then so now in the system we'll have ECC master data, and we know APO master data also, and then we'll do some configuration. Okay, so we'll have our own configuration. We'll not touch any standards. We'll create our own strategy profile, heuristic profile, time profile. PPDS is full of profiles. Okay, so we'll create some planning strategies. We'll have our own service heuristics, scheduling heuristics, work area, overall profile. We'll have our own PPDS alerts, alert profile. So now, see, that's when we'll have everything. So before you do planning, what all you need, we'll have. Then we'll start production planning. So in production planning, again, it's not just straightforward planning what we do in ECC. Here we can do some interactive planning using some product heuristics. Like there are some interactive planning. You don't have to run planning. You can execute planning. We call it interactive planning. Okay, and we use product heuristic for that. A product has to be planned with some heuristic, not everything. Production planning is for everything, right? Okay, for the entire plant you may run planning. But so then we'll learn how to do interactive planning, that is using product heuristic, and then we'll do production planning. Production planning you can do single level, you can do multi-level, infinite planning, finite planning, everything you can do in production planning. Okay. Um, there are some procedures in PPDS. You have manual with check, manual without check, cover dependent requirements immediately, production planning. There are so many procedures. So we'll learn all the procedures in production planning. There's nothing out of that. Okay, we'll simulate everything. So this may not be here, but it is here. This is so now when we run PPDS planning, okay, um, the output of this is a PPDS planned order. Okay, so how it looks like, we'll analyze. and then we'll create some SNP. In support projects, what happens? Mute here, whoever it is, please. So in SNP, in support projects or even in implementations, you will have SNP also. So when you have SNP, there are two things can happen. One is they convert SNP orders into PPDS orders every week, and PPDS planners will take that and they do scheduling. That is one way. The other way is to plan it. When you plan a PPDS in PPDS, the SNP orders which falls in PPDS horizon. So today we'll talk about horizons in that slide. So you'll have an understanding. So the SNP orders which falls in PPDS horizon will be converted to PPDS orders. Okay, we'll see how that happens. So that you have an understanding. You must know that there are there are 3-4 ways of converting. So we'll see what are all those. So at this point of time, we'll have PPDS planning or planned orders in the system. We'll have SNP planned orders which are converted to PPDS. So we'll have multiple planned orders, PPDS planned orders. Then we'll get into detailed scheduling planning board. Okay. So we'll see.
Can I ask you one question here, Sanjeev?
Sure.
See, like, that CTM, what do you call the bucket profile, and then there's a time continuous. So
Correct.
that could be the overlap, right? Because time stream ID is being used for CTM planning.
Yeah.
In that case, it creates straight away. That's PPDS and this CTM that overlaps always, right? That horizon.
No, it's not mandatory that you have to overlap. Okay, so overlap is it's not recommended, but in Fondera, we had overlap for some reason. It's only that supply planners also wanted to have control in PPDS horizon, so that was the reason we overlap. But what happens is when you run SNP or CTM, even there we had CTM, and that's the place I learned CTM. So there in CTM, we generate finite plant orders. So whenever you have SNP optimization or CTM, these two, whenever you have these two implemented, the output of this is based on some factors. In SNP optimization, it would have given you plant orders considering costs, transportation cost, your production cost, your storage cost, procurement cost, and all these kind of things. You can't just go and run PPDS planning on top of it, because PPDS planning, you'll go and look at PPDS master data, not SNP master data. So in such cases, we convert SNP plant order into PPDS orders. It won't change anything. Everything, the parameters will remain same. Only the type of plant order will change. But if you use heuristics, SNP heuristics, you use capacity leveling, location heuristic, network heuristic, and all those kind of things, then we go and replan it. Okay, in a shorter horizon, it looks at PPDS specific master data, and it will do. See, the time stream what you're talking about is not mandatory. You can make CTM look at your factory calendar and plan. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I may be overlapping at this stage. Okay, no worries. So it's just go in your flow.
Yeah, don't worry about that. It's client specific. We can use time stream or we can use factory calendar. Both we can in CTM. Okay.
No worries, man. No worries. I don't want to take out others' time. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So scheduling heuristic, there are so many. Okay. Bottom up, top down, forward, backward, reverse, and we have so many in that. Find slot, in how to insert operation, how to append operation. It's really interesting. You guys will be very happy because these are the limitations we have in PP. Okay, even though you go to CM25 and all, the screen may look like that, but what all you see, and you guys will be really astonished. To that level, to that detail level, we can do in PPDS. Okay, production planners love PPDS. So, and because of the options that they have, flexibility they have in PPDS. And then once after this, let's get into setup groups, keys, matrices, changeover times, and all. How the planning changes. See, here you would have seen how it PPDS plans, right, in a normal scenario. Then we'll introduce this. You'll see the way the planning takes place. It will be different. It will consider changeover times and all those kind of things. Um, and you see all these groups, keys, everything will be created in ECC. So we'll shift it to API. Okay, and PPDS optimization. So now changeover times we do, and then we'll introduce some costs. Okay, setup costs and all this kind of thing, and we'll see how PPDS optimization will change the entire planning. It will tell you, okay, this is what you do, sequencing. Okay, and but even though it saves time, but you'll have to spend more. So it gives you a feasible plan where it takes care of changeover time also. At the same time, it takes care of cost also. Okay. So Janak in Fontera, you know, only for this, all I did in PPDS is this. I went to do PPDS optimization. Then when I showed them this, they said we don't want PPDS optimization. This is doing what we want. They said optimization is very complex.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah. Yeah.
entire Fontera business, they call it FBA, entire, and then they call Fontera Ingredients Australia. Okay, and Auckland,
Mm-hmm.
Tip Top. There is something called Tip Top in. So there we did tank planning. In Tip Top, it was tank planning of PPDS, but in every business unit, it was only this. Okay, so the whole PPDS is running only this there. But it's very complex. It's not straightforward. But I'll tell you what all we did, and then we'll
Yeah, sure.
capable to promise. This is make to order sales order planning. Okay, this will be talking about GATP also. Okay, so we'll have to do some configurations in GATP, and it is finite immediate planning. You create a sales order, planned orders are there in PPDS online, immediate, the next second PPDS plans and the results are back in ECC directly. Okay, we'll see how to do that. Then we'll see capacity reservation. So how to reserve some capacities for important customers, priority customers. Okay, and so that no other customer. This is also sales order planning only. So once you know this, and then if we get into this, it will be easy. We'll be using the same example. Now we'll say, okay, this is how it should plan. Then we'll say this slot is only dedicated to this sold to party. Nobody else can take it. So those kind of things we'll see. Then we'll see planned maintenance integration. If there is any maintenance, unexpected maintenance. Okay, planned maintenance we know. Maintenance guys will call PPDS planners. They'll say next week the resource will be down. So PPDS planners know what to do. But unexpected breakdown, what happens? So we'll see how to create equipment plan maintenance order. We'll integrate it with the PPDS and see what happens to APO, what happens to the orders which are scheduled. So, and then we'll learn block planning. Okay, so we'll create class CDP. This is full CDP, CDP class. Class characteristics, values. We'll sift everything. We'll see how CDP class looks like in APO. We'll link that CDP class to our resource, and we'll create blocks and see what happens. Then resource classification, how to classify resource. There are 10 different resources. This also we did in Fontera, classifying resources. They have something called UHT, ultra heat treated, where they have different types of sterilizers, different types of blenders. The operation is same. It does only blending, but they have multiple blenders, the multiple sterilizers, and every resource has a different output. Like filler. One filler does 100 bottles an hour. Other one does 130 an hour. Other one does only 80 bottles an hour. So how do you classify? Okay, you can't afford to have so many production versions or so many routing. So what we do is we create only one routing, but we'll classify all the resources. Okay, and that comes to API's modes. Okay, and they can decide where to produce in filler 1 or filler 2 or filler 3. So we'll see how to do that, and then comes our colors. So I'll show you how to um, define colors to your products. So looking at the color, you know which product it is. Okay, so that will learn.
It's a visual board, right? It's
The plan,
detailed scheduling.
yeah.
Visual.
In the planning board, see the limitations in planning board that day I showed you. you have so many charts, resource chart, we have product chart. Actually, planners can't accommodate all those in their screen. So what they want to see is only resource chart, and the orders, what they see should be in color. So you don't need to have product chart, isn't it? Because they know, okay, this is brown color, they know what the product is. Based on, because everywhere, wherever you would have gone, you would have seen that you go to shop floor, they have a big chart open. So, with all the colors and all. So our product identification happens based on colors. Nobody remembers the product code. In SAP, we simply call some numbers. They can't remember that, and they don't have
Mhm.
patience to read the description. So they ask you for colors. Um, we'll see that. Colors are very, complex, and they are very delicate. So you have to be very careful. Planners will ask you, if my orders are released, I want a line in the right side. If my orders are partially confirmed, I want a line at the bottom. They gave all this requirement there. We couldn't achieve it, but to some extent we have achieved. But we have to tell them is the sensitivity and the limitations you have. Too much of complexity, it ends up not creating order. So PPDS, APO as a whole works on LiveCache. It's only because, see, in LiveCache we have time series objects, order series objects. Okay, say you have database, right? In ECC you have all these tables, AUF, KPI. There's so many tables we get into in ECC, but in APO we don't have tables. It's all the transactions data is stored in LiveCache. The only reason being that in ECC it's Oracle database, which is very robust, very stable, very strong. But the problem with that is it's very slow. It can't do calculation. That's why you can't have. If you go to CM25, you can't do what we do here in PPDS. So SAP introduced LiveCache, and the database is called MaxDB. So MaxDB is developed by SAP only. So they run a lot of algorithms, isn't it? And I say run planning for 1,000 products, do infinite planning, do finite planning. So what happens in finite planning? It has to go and check 100 resources. It has to go and check all the slots. It has to do finite planning, and I go and do scheduling from bottom to top, top to bottom. Do that, do this. So it has to do a lot of calculation in the background, right? So you can't do all this in ECC because of the database constraints. So that's the reason when you run heuristics, it has a lot of algorithm. Heuristic is nothing but an algorithm, a calculation. Okay, then we define a program how it has to calculate. So that's why we have introduced LiveCache. So you have to tell your clients, the limitations you have in PPDS, when it comes to colors, when it comes to uh, finite scheduling. Okay, so they can't go and give a lot of things and they ask PPDS to do calculation. They can, but step by step. So you need to explain them. You'll know by the end of PPDS what I'm talking about. Okay, and then we'll have a session on reports. There's so many product planning table, resource planning table, resource utilization report, and we have a product overview, and we have resource utilization. We have production list. There are so many reports in PPDS, and I have not seen anywhere where planners have asked some reports to be developed, because PPDS has everything. Whatever they ask, it is there. Okay, it will fulfill everybody's requirement. Maybe in GATP and all, we have developed some reports because it always talks to ECC, and so through RFC we have to do something. But you go to any APO implementation, customized reports will be zero because APO gives everything. Okay, all the information. Okay, so this is all about what we cover in PPDS, and even you can call yourself a PPDS consultant here only. Okay, so these are all advanced planning. Okay, out of 10, maybe 3 or 4 will get into optimization, but every PPDS implementation will have this much. This will be mandatory in every PPDS implementation. Without this, you don't need PPDS. Okay, so you need to really be thorough in this, and to call yourself PPDS consultant, these are mandatory. Okay, so now let's get into the slide quickly and see what is PPDS. Okay, not very detailed. Huh? today I want to get into the system directly. But if you have a question, please raise your hand. Okay, and so you see, this is nothing but so what are the different advanced planning and scheduling systems we have? So we do strategic planning, that is whether it's a short term or long term and all those kind of things. And tactical, see, PPDS belongs to both tactical and operation. Okay, so when tactical, you say SNP and PPDS, I wouldn't call demand planning as tactical, because demand planning is a very unconstrained plan. It doesn't care. You give your name as a product, it takes it. Your name as a location, it takes it. So what it does, it takes and gives you the forecast based on history, based on last 3 years of sales history, and whatever comes from ECC, it just takes it and gives you. So when it comes to as soon as you release the demand to SNP, that's when the real planning, supply planning starts to your entire supply chain. Okay, uh, SNP will do planning across your supply chain. You may have 3 different distribution centers, and you may have a connected warehouse, and then you may have different vendors, and then you have 3 4 production plants. Okay, and you do a lot of stock transfer between production plants, and then you do stock transfer between production plant to distribution. So entire network will be planned in SNP. But when it comes to PPDS, it's operational. Okay, it's only manufacturing location only. I don't care about what happens in DC, but SNP worries about it. SNP thinks, okay, how much to get from this production plant, how much to get from that production plant, what is the quota arrangement, what is the transportation limitations I have, what are the cost of transporting from one manufacturing location to DC. All this sourcing headache is SNP. SNP is another big headache. So but when it comes to PPDS worries only about its own manufacturing. How many resources I have, when to do production, how to do, in what sequence to do production. So that is only specific to a plant. So you think about supply planners, they're always in tension. You would have seen in your plan. The PPDS planners, they think only about their own. They don't care what orders, from where it is coming. They don't care. But supply planners have need to think about all this. Okay, Nirmal, Nirmal got disconnected. Power failure. These are things we can't help on. Okay, he sent a message. Anyway, we have a recording of this. Okay, so then you know these are all faldu, yeah, possible solution and all. See, these slide and all, we take it to client and to brainwash them. But realistically, we don't have to talk about all this. So just explained, if you talk about flow, the first thing what happens is demand planning, and you release the forecast to supply network planning. SNP will do some, some capacity leveling, heuristics, and then it does some leveling, and then we take it. Okay, and then we do planning, we do scheduling, then we give it to ECC. Okay, we convert all the planned orders into production orders in PPDS. Okay, not in ECC. And then PPDS planners will give a production plan to the process team for execution. So then they do all this release, issue, confirmation, and all those kind of things in ECC. And then what happens? They do GR. So you have stock. So then what happens? Again, deployment comes into picture. So you need to send those stocks back to DC, isn't it? So then we say we run deployment. So supply planning happens from DC to production plant. Deployment happens from production plant to DC. Okay. So there are two things here. One is upstream, one is downstream. Upstream is manufacturing plant becomes an upstream location. DC becomes a downstream location. If DC is sending it to warehouse, so DC becomes upstream location. The warehouse becomes an downstream location. Okay, so it's just the other way around. So then we talk about TLP. So deployment tells this is what you have to send. Okay, you have to send 500 cartons to this DC. Then TLB thinks, okay, how to send it? How many trucks I want? Truck has a limitation, isn't it? Truck has a limitation. It has a capacity. So it can't send 500 cartons at a time. So it has a limitation. It takes only 200. So then it thinks how many times have to go, 3 times have to go, which is the best way to go, and all this kind of things TLB does. So and we have implemented this. Uh, Wherever you have SNP, TLB deployment will be there. Okay. So that is TLB. And how time buckets, in what buckets everything plans. Demand planning always, on year, quarter, week buckets we do. You don't really need to worry about forecast for a day, isn't it? It's too minute for that. At least week's forecast we take for planning. Okay, so this is the minimum time bucket. And I'm not saying that it cannot be in daily bucket. It can be. It depends. We call something like time bucket profile in demand planning. Okay, where we can define days also. Okay, but what they are showing is the standard practice. SNP year, quarter, month, week. Okay, but I don't mind adding day also here, because for the first week or for week 1 and 2 we also go in days in supply network planning. This is SAP recommended. Production planning we do up to a day, scheduling we do to a minute, and deployment to an hour, and TLB to a minute. Okay, this is the minimum time bucket what we are talking about here in this slide. Okay, and this is the architecture here. Easy. Sales orders comes from ECC to APO, and manufacturing execution happens in we plan we give in APO. Execution happens in ECC, and the status goes to APO. Think that you have done partial confirmation. Immediately the status goes to APO. Okay, so execution. That's why you see two arrows. Anything happens here, ECC will come to know. Anything happens here, APO comes to know. Okay, and inventory management, that is nothing but your purchase requisition, purchase order, STR, STO, and all happens through deployment and SMP. And all the data which we get for demand planning will be through BI. So what happened, BW will go and look at your LIS of ECC. It will take all the sales invoices. It creates a data source in BW system. Every day all the invoices will come to BW system. From the data source, it picks it and it sends it to APO. And APO will have cubes, then we have a planning area, and that's a big story. Okay, so this is how it works. ECC, APO,
Sanjeev,
yeah.
Sanjeev, without BW is, I mean, demand planning is not possible, right?
See, it is possible. So what we do, if you don't have BW, we have within APO we have BW. It's called APO BI. Okay.
Okay.
So in that we directly we extract whatever we want from ECC into some Excel. Okay, so from Excel we load the cube, and from APO cube. From APO cube we load it to our APO planning area for forecasting. That will be during initial stages of your. If you're going for an implementation, you would many
Mm-hmm.
times see a lot of Excel only will be in place, because BW is not live. Okay, and they don't have right understanding. So once everything is stabilized, maybe 6 months down the line, you would see all these Excels will be eliminated. Everything happens in the system.
How? I mean, see, when you do initial planning or initial, then we can do the Excel upload, right? But once the system is gone live, how the data will flow from
No, whatever you
SAP
load,
R3?
yeah, there will be something called data source. Okay, we create a data source. What is the source? I'll say my
Yeah,
sales invoice table. Okay, so we have
okay.
BW is full of extractors. They do extractions of from.
Yeah. There are lots of aspects.
Yeah. So what we do is,
RSA1, RSA6. Yeah.
yes, if you go to RSA1, you go to data source, it'll ask you what is the source, whether the source is
Mm-hmm.
in which system, whichever connected system. ECC system will be connected to BW system. Okay, and BW system will be connected to API.
Okay.
So it'll ask you from which system you want to create a data source, which is R3 system. So immediately, whatever is there, every day we run that load. After you do
Mm.
invoices, think that first you create a sales order, right? Then you do delivery.
Mm.
So delivery documents are created in the system. What they do, every organization they
Right.
have a cutoff, sales cutoff. After 3 o'clock, they don't do delivery.
Mm.
Wherever I've seen. So now they know what they've delivered, and then they run the job.
Mm.
In the night, they run this So then you have some EDI orders created in the system. So that normally cutoff will be like 12 o'clock in the night. After 12, they don't run any EDI orders. Now they have all the delivery documents. So based on delivery documents, they run invoicing every night. So as soon as the invoicing is finished, this APO extractors will start, this BW extractors. It will go and extract all the data into their cubes in their data source. Then these cubes will be executed.
Okay.
Okay, so this is a chain here, data source to cube, cube
Hmm.
to DP cube. This cube comes to APO as planning MPOS, and then all the sales actuals. There are two things, open sales, actual sales. Actual sales is what was the quantity? The customer requested you 100. You delivered only 80. So 80 is actual.
Right.
20 is your open sales.
Hmm.
It all comes to demand planning, so that you why you didn't deliver 20, because you never had stock. So you need to forecast it properly, isn't it? So then they take all this
Hmm.
for forecast correction. Okay, so that's entirely different. Who asked this question? Kandarp, is it, or Janet?
Yeah.
Kandarp. Okay.
Kand.
Yeah, slowly, slowly, once you put your first step into PPDS, all these things, questions comes to your mind. It's fine, yeah, you can ask me, no problem. I actually see, I have, my hands are very dirty. All this BW, DP, done all this. Feel free to ask any questions, no problem. And APO, how it integrates with ECC. The other slide we saw similar. All the sales orders from SD module. Okay, so you need to, whenever you work on GATP, you always work with SD consultants closely. Whenever you work in PPDS, you work with PP consultants very closely. And when it comes to deployment, TLB, so you work closely with consultants. But what you should keep in mind is you can never rely on PP consultant in PPDS implement. I know you guys are PP consultants. The attitude of a PP consultant completely changes when APO is in place. I agree, because he PP consultant will be more focused on execution, because planning will be in APO. So you don't really go to him for anything. Any problem in planning, it's a role of PPDS consultant. For example, creating shifts and it's PPDS consultant. Defining a strategy is everything. Whatever you need in APO, you can never go to PP consultant, because he'll be focused only on execution. Everything will fall on PPDS consultant. Okay, not PP consultant. This is we need to talk about SNP and PPDS horizon. See, in APO is full of horizons here. You have PPDS horizon, you have SNP horizon, you have deployment horizon, pull horizon, push horizon, forecast horizon, stock transfer horizon. Everything is based on horizons in PPDS. So at this stage, a PPDS consultant should only know um, PPDS horizon and SNP horizon. That's all. All others are for SNP consultant. So what we'll do is, let's in the next class I'll create an Excel for you guys. So what I do is, we'll have an Excel. Everything we talk about, we'll put it here, and then after the course I'll send this Excel, so you know what we spoke about. See, when I say horizon, let's take this uh, as PPDS horizon. Okay, this can be your, we are here. Okay, we are here. So we take some color here. So I would say this is SNP, and so let me just. You should have this understanding, or else this is basic understanding. Okay, so I'll write here PPDS. I can't see the color, so let me write PPDS here, and here I think SNP. So I'm here. Okay, today is current day. So my PPDS horizon is 4 days, and SNP horizon starts from here. Okay, and it ends here. So this is called extended SNP horizon. EXT SNP. Okay. So now when PPDS plans, it only plans for the demands which are only within this period. If there is any demand, a forecast or a sales order here, PPDS will not touch it. Okay? SNP will take it and plan because it lies outside PPDS horizon. Okay? And I'm saying my SNP horizon is this. My SNP in this case, my PPDS horizon is 4 days. SNP horizon is 4 days. Okay, SNP horizon is 4 days. From 4 days, so the only difference here is SNP plans outside 4 days, PPDS plans inside 4 days. Okay, so in real terms, I would say SNP horizon starts outside the horizon, PPDS horizon ends inside. So 4 days is PPDS horizon. So inside 4 days is PPDS horizon. SNP is 4 days outside this 4 days because we are here. Outside, out of 4 days belongs to SNP. You got it, Janak?
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. So Nirmal, Janak, Kandap, you have any question? Please ask. Okay. SNP plans outside the horizon. PPDS plans inside the horizon. That's all. Very simple. Now, Janak asked a question. Overlap. It can overlap. See, now I'll say SNP horizon is 3 days. PPDS horizon is 4 days. Okay. Now, in this situation, you think that there is a forecast of 100. Okay. So this is the 4th day. We are here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have a demand of 100 here. So now it falls in PPDS horizon. At the same time, it belongs to SNP horizon also, because SNP horizon plans outside 3 days. Okay. So SNP, so in this situation, if you run SNP planning run, this becomes an SNP planned order. If you run PPDS planning, it becomes so this period is owned by both PPDS and SNP. Okay, so if in such situation, what we do is we run. There is a reason. Supply planners want this data for some reporting purpose, or they want to see what happens the supply situation. So they run SNP planning, and now if I go and run PPDS planning, this gets converted to PPDS. Okay. So this is overlap. We call this overlap horizon. So if you look at this slide here, this is what it is saying. PPDS horizon, SNP production horizon. Okay, I think this the slide is a bit misleading. There's another slide which talks about what happens in the. Let me go to that slide. So here, okay, see this is a SNP production horizon. This dark line. Okay, and this is a PPDS horizon. So now this area is a overlap. Okay, because SNP plans outside this, PPDS plans inside this. So when you run PPDS planning, what it is saying is it deletes the SNP order, it creates a PPDS order in the overlap horizon. That's all it is trying to say. Any questions on this? Kanda, please speak up here. Even if you think it's a very silly questions, no problem. Just go ahead. When you want to ask question, just ask.
From my side, so far it's really going good, and there is no question from my side.
Come to know when we see all this in the system. Now, if you don't have understanding, you will get the understanding when we see all this.
Because currently I'm working, there is a it's a complete APO implementation, and I'm a lead, but I always say I'm not APO, so that is no good. So I know what is happening, so that's why.
Okay.
So, but it's really going good. Yeah, I'm really taking away a lot. Yep.
So Janak, you're in part of APO team now, or you're part of APO implementation is going on, is it?
Yeah, I'm a lead.
Okay.
I'm a MRP and operation lead, and I've got a very senior people who have got more than what my experience. I've got one guy. He's around 62 year old. He's American. I'm not sure work. He's a BP. Another is a very senior guy from HCL from India. He's SNP. And there is another, not that senior, but there is another lady. She's from PPDS.
What's his name? PPDS. What's his name?
Her name is Tuti.
Priti.
Tuti. Yeah, we'll talk. No worries. I'll after this call, I wanted to talk to you. So,
Yeah, we'll talk offline because I know all the PPDS consultants there in Australia, but
that's why it's really interesting. I tried to reach to you, but I couldn't. So anyway, I'll talk after this class. I don't want to hold the other guys. Yeah.
okay, after the class we'll talk.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so guys, this is something. This is a thumb rule. Huh? What you see in this slide. Jana, I think you have to mute. Okay, so thumb rule, when I say, very simple. If you see the sky blue color circles and you see the gray color circles here, so very straightforward. What it is saying is always the header should be planned in APO. What we do is we uh, components. See, APO, we don't send everything to APO. Okay, we send only critical um, products to APO, which really impacts your business, which reflects your profits. Say normally it will be finished goods and semi-finished components. We don't send to APO. Okay, unless it's really critical. So in such situation, here, so what this slide is saying is always the header should be planned in APO and the child should be planned in ECC if at all required. Okay, you can never have a child in APO, parent in ECC. Okay, so that's what it's saying here. See this 4 circles, and if you see here, its child can be planned in ECC. So what we do is we send the semi-finished goods order to ECC. Okay, in ECC we think that component lead time is like 2 months, 3 months, you know. So whenever you have 2 to 3 months of component lead time, you need a demand, isn't it? Or else you don't get a purchase requisition in ECC. So how you get the demand? You get the demand from planned order from APO. So think that semi-finished goods planned order is in APO, an SNP planned order. Say when I say long lead time, think that you have a lead time of 3 months. So before 3 months, you need to say, create a purchase requisition in ECC, isn't it? Only then after 3 months you'll get it. So for that you need to send 3 months old order of SNP to ECC for MRP plan. Okay, so in such situations, you know, this is what you need to follow. Okay, you can't have a lower level product in APO and higher in ECC because the demand comes from APO to ECC. Okay, any question you can ask. So here it says SD. When you create
Sanjeev, I have a question.
yeah, ask it.
Sanjeev, see, generally what's happen in SAP R3? Like I have a requirement of finished product for 100 quantity, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and it is a component that also required in 100 quantity.
Correct.
Okay, but see, I cannot produce all 100 quantity in a one day.
Yeah.
Okay, so the maximum I can produce 10 in a day.
Okay.
So my production start date finishes is around 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now I want a quantity of component 10 quantity per day, not more than that, right? Because see, 100 I cannot produce in a single day. So I do not require 100 quantity of component in a single day. Right. I want 10 quantity of component every day.
Mm-hmm.
So how to, I mean, does APO planning cater this
Yeah.
requirement?
Yeah, it will do. See, there are many ways. See, I'll tell you. When you say component, are you talking about raw material or semi-finished goods?
It's a component. It's a raw material.
Yeah. So raw material, if you think logically as a consultant, you can't send 10 purchase requisitions to a vendor. Okay. So what we
Right.
vendor now always have minimum, we call it MOQ, or there are so many terms, minimum order quantity. So vendor always expects you to place higher quantity of orders. So what you're asking, you cannot do it. Okay. So it always, there is, if you go to ECC, there is something called individual requirement, collective requirement and all. So components always takes multiple requirements and creates one purchase requisition. So that gets converted to purchase orders now. So that is for components. You can do it if you want. Okay, you can create multiple purchase requisitions also. That is possible. But in real time, that is not recommended. But if you say
No, Sanjeev,
which,
my
yeah,
Sanjeev,
yeah,
yeah.
tell me.
See, my question is, see, I can create a multiple PRs or single PR, individual PR or clubbing, right? See, I have only one requirement for 100,
Correct.
but my requirement is I have a delivery schedule should be 10 quantities each day, not more than that, because I have a constraint of storage space.
Okay. Okay. So then what we do is we have something called order split in ECC. So what we'll do is if you want a demand of partial quantity of purchase requisitions, we can always have a demand coming to that particular component as a daily lot size. Yeah, you take daily lot size. So what is that in a day you want? Only those,
Okay.
periodic lot sizes, right? Daily, weekly, lot for lot and all. So
Yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
okay, daily lot size you can give. So days requirement it will take and it will give you receipt elements. Okay, so that is one way of doing. Or the other way I would say is normally in PPDS we do splitting, order split. Order is
Hmm.
10 days of orders. Okay, I can split that order
Okay.
into 10. By quantity
Okay.
you can do, by period you can do. Okay, by
Hmm.
period means I will give 10 periods, or I can give by quantity. If my order quantity is 100, okay, I want to do by quantity 10, by 10,
Hmm.
multiples of 10. That is also I can do. Or I can split the order on the third day, or on the seventh day, or on the eighth day. So there are multiple options in PPDS. We'll see that is part of our
Okay.
simulation. Okay, so to your question, it's only
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
sizes, daily lot sizes is the best solution. Okay,
Okay.
so this PPDS delivers all this here, real-time dynamic exception messages, multi-level forward scheduling, backward scheduling, you know, many things that, and then why perform PPDS is because of improved customer response, because we spoke about sales order planning and all, right? So we can actually go to customer and say, this is when you get it. I don't know how much you guys have worked on GATP or ECC. So whatever confirmation we give when we create a sales order is a tentative. It's a tentative date. But when you integrate with PPDS, it's a realistic date. Okay, it goes and looks at the real situation and comes back and gives confirmation. So all these things we can do in GATP and PPDS. So that's why they're talking about improve throughput, improve customer response, and all. Reduce inventory, reduce WIP. Okay. Um, reduce WIP. I would say not in PPDS. Maybe in optimization and all we do reducing WIP and all. Reduce overtime expenses. Increase asset utilization. Reduce cycle time. It's a reduced cycle time. We are talking about all these changeover times and all those kind of things. The what you produce in a day, if you really plan properly, yeah, in a setup optimization or setup sequencing, we can reduce the total lead time by having the right changeover time, because setup time is something which is non-value added, right? No one pays for that. So we can really reduce the cycle time you introducing setup sequencing. Why would you use PPDS within an organization? Who would use? Sorry, PPDS planners will anyway use. Inventory planner, use it only when it comes to, when you're planning raw materials and all those kind of things. Or sometimes you have semi-finished goods also, where if you don't have enough capacity, we decide to outsource it. So in such cases, they get into PPDS and see what the reports and all. The shippers, when I say PPDS produces, plans for they want to know when the orders will be finished so that they know when they can ship. Shop floor supervisor by default. Customer service will definitely look into PPDS when we do sales order plan. So all these different areas, people from different areas need PPDS to look at the situation. Okay, and strengths and challenges we can just go through. That's not a difference between what the difference is. This is important. Maybe it's a bit early, but it's something beneficial. As a BP consultant, when I was a BP consultant, I always thought this doesn't work in ECC, but in APO we do it. There is something called single activity resource, multi-activity resource in PPDS. Okay, and it's applicable for SNP also. So when you have, um, you see what they're trying to show here is, if you have, think that there's a big hall, okay, it's a lathe shop. So if you have 5 different lathe machines, we can always map it as a multi-activity resource. One work center, it's just a one work center, okay? And I'm saying my entire capacity is a hall is a work center, and I have 5 individual capacities, 5 different lathe machines. So how would you do it? Instead of creating 5 work centers, I can create only one work center. I say a number of individual capacities 5. So in such situation, PPDS will create 5 orders on one work center. Okay, so not only PPDS, even SNP creates 5 orders. Every time it creates 5. Okay, and the thing is, it starts at the same time. Okay, and if you ask me whether in ECC it does, no, I don't know. In ECC, here we do it because it helps us in scheduling and all. And this requirement came and I've simulated it, and a lot of people are using it. Okay, it really makes sense because all these machines works together. You can't put one machine off. Only in such situation you can propose this solution. If it works together, or else it doesn't work. If one machine works and other machine is off, no, you can't do it. Okay, if you have multiple, if the work centers work simultaneously, okay, only in such situation you can go with this solution. I'll show where it is. These are the settings in ECC only, not in APO. And we'll see where it is when we create work centers. Okay, so this is model and version management. We have a model and there's a version, planning version. Always keep in mind 000 model and 000 version is the data. That's why it's called operative data here, if you see. Only this data is operative, which is used for execution. And all other planning versions, we can have any number of planning versions in a model. Okay, so one model can have any number of planning versions. Okay, there is no limitation. But if somebody who's in implementation, they'll know what is the limitation. Okay, so whenever you create one planning version, you need to take 100 approvals because it consumes your space. You need to upgrade your LiveCache, and that's cost again. So no one approves to have a simulation version. Maybe one they'll allow you. If you want to have a second one, then it's very difficult. Okay, so we'll see. We'll create a model version and all when we get into APO master data. Okay, I'll show you how to create all this. And then this again talking about the horizon. It's a repeat. And here last slide is pegging. Pegging is nothing but there are 2 types of pegging here: dynamic pegging, fixed pegging. So here it is showing you how it pegs. So there is a demand of 100. There is a receipt of. There are 2 receipts. One receipt is 80. One receipt is 20. Okay. In dynamic pegging, you can share it. So here I'm sharing 80 to here and here. Okay. So 50 goes to this, 30 goes to this, and the balance 20 also goes to this. So your demand is fulfilled. Okay. But when it comes to fixed pegging, 50, there is a demand of 50, there is a receipt element of 80, and we have built a fixed relationship between this and this, and this balance 30 will be a surplus always. Okay, so then we have to go to alerts and see what are the surplus alerts, and this can never be shared, and this both are built-in relationship. If you move this order, this also moves. If you move this order, this also moves. Okay, so that's the difference. Fixed pegging is always relationship is built. We normally use dynamic pegging in 95% of the implementations because of this reason. They don't want to have surplus. They want other orders to consume the um, and you may think why this is 80. Okay, why this can't be 50? So that is again your constraints in your organization lots. See, sometimes there's something called minimum losses. Minimum losses has to be 80. You can't produce anything less than 80. Okay, but your demands are lesser than that. So how would you share it? So that's when all your dynamic pegging, fixed pegging, all comes into picture. Okay, so this is just a brief about PPDS here. So when we get into all this, we'll be seeing how to make it dynamic pegging, how to make it fixed pegging, and all in our PPDS session. So let's get into all this in detail. So I always spend 1 hour on this. I think I've spent 1 hour, a little bit more than that. So if you have any questions, you can ask, or we'll get into the system directly. Any questions, Janak, Nirmal?
No, not so far. It's really very clear. It's too early to ask you the
Okay,
question. So
good. Okay, so what we'll do is, like I said, we'll create all the data in ECC and we'll shift it to APO. Okay, so what we'll do, I think I'm lucky that you guys are all PP consultants, or else I normally go to show the path and those kind of things. If you want, we can still do it, but we'll directly get into MM01 and we'll see what are the fields that flows to APO, which has dependency on ECC, and we'll talk about this. So we'll create a material. See, everything we create, we'll normally say we'll have a prefix. So in this session, I would say, so J and say, what will give Nirmal, right? Say it's a J and hyphen FG1. Okay. So anything starts, our work center should start from J. Everything, configuration, alert profile, everything will start so that, other students don't touch it. And even you guys can have a reference. Please don't disturb whatever I'm starting from J. It's all for my own, because what happens, I create configurations and all, and I go and run planning. And sometimes what students would have gone to this and would have done some changes, and planning doesn't work. So that's why keep your own product, keep your own materials, work centers, so that whatever I teach, you can practice. Okay? So don't disturb my master data. So it's good for you guys. Or else with unnecessarily waste time to go and see what has gone wrong, fixing it. Again, 15-20 minutes will go unnecessarily. Okay, so let's have sales data also, because when we get into CTP, we have to create sales orders and all, right? So we may need sales views also. MRP 1, 2, 3, 4 is default. Work scheduling is mandatory. Let's have some general plan data storage 1 to see some shelf life parameters, and we'll say this one. Okay, we'll take 1000. Okay, this is a standard plant, manufacturing plant, and sales of DC is 10. No problem. Default setting. Okay, so let's give some unit of measure PC pieces. So here only one field which could be important is when we talk about CDP class, right? So think that your PPDS implementation has variant configuration. Okay, so to know whether this, see, you can have a CDP class, but CDP means it's not always variant configuration, right? So if your product is classified as a CDP class, fine. It's not mandatory that it has to be variant configured. So if you think your product is subject to variant configuration, this is the indicator. Okay, material is configurable. Okay, say for block planning, it's a CDP class. Okay, we use CDP class 400 and we do block planning. Okay, but material doesn't have to be configurable. Okay, so in such situations you don't have to really do it. If you have a configurable material only, then you have to check this box. All the sales data, we'll take as it is. We'll get into it when we get into. We need a sales view. That's all. Yep. Item category norm should be there. So this defines your how APO ADP check should be performed. Okay. I think this is 001. Item category should be always norm in my setup. Okay. See this? Make sure if your sales order doesn't work, this defines your strategy. Okay. So make to stock, make to order, whatever strategy we define in MRP goes and norm takes it over. Okay, so it has to be a proper item category, or else your CTP, when we get into CTP, it doesn't work. Okay, um, English is fine. Now we go to MRP one. Let's talk about MRP here. Okay, see here PPDS. What comes to PPDS? All base unit of measure anyway comes from the basic data. What comes to PPDS is nothing of this. Plant material specific status doesn't come. APO will take anything here, any status it will take. But if you want to restrict it, so what I do is, instead of simply unnecessarily sending my materials to APO, what I do is I configure a status called A active, B inactive, C block, whatever status, you know how to do it, right? You can configure it. So in SIF integration model, I use this to filter. I'll tell send this material only if it is active. Okay, so I use this field and ABC indicator for filtering the products. It has got no relevance with APO, irrespective of the status PPDS will plan. Okay, but I only go and restrict it. In the SIF, I don't want to send unnecessarily materials which are inactive to APO because I don't want it. I don't want to plan those. Okay, so for such reasons, I normally go and um, uh, filter in SIF. I'll show that in SIF. MRP type. Okay, so you guys know there are so many MRP types. So what we do is, whenever we, let me go to this Excel. Okay, so think that you have you have PD as a MRP type and you have X0. This is an interview question. Okay, so if it is PD, you can still send it to APO. You can still send it to APO. APO will still plan. Okay, but if it is X0, anyway, this is relevant for external, that is APO system. You can APO plans it. But if it is X0, so now you see, if it is PD, APO is so nice, APO will still plan for you. But if it is X0, ECC will never plan. Okay, because if ECC thinks it is not to be planned in ECC. If it is X0, it plans only in APO. Okay, but if it is PD, you can still send it to APO and you can still plan. And a lot of people think that if it is PD, APO doesn't plan. No, APO will plan anything here. In the selection, if you have the product, if you have a demand, it go. If you have resource, all the master data, it will go and give you planned orders. Okay, so this you keep in mind. Okay, so there are so many whatever, irrespective of MRP type, APO will plan. Okay, you have so many time phase and all those kind of things, right, where we use time stream calendars and all, and we plan. So it just goes and gives you planning. And ND, okay, if it is ND, yes, it really takes care of it. It doesn't do planning. So PD, if it is PD, it will definitely, APO also will plan. But what I do is, in the SIF integration model, I tell send this material to APO only if the MRP type is X0, or else don't send it, because I don't want, if this is planned in ECC, I don't want it in APO. Okay, MRP controller, you can give something. So what we do is, MRP controller and all can be used in APO, but MRP controller is field mapping is not there. Okay, so irrespective of any MRP controller, you can send it to APO. Lot size, there are so many lot sizes. Um, you have periodic lot size. You have, I mean, you have lot per lot. When you say periodic, you have daily lot size. You have weekly lot size. You have hourly lot size. You have planning calendar. You have so many things here. So what I do in my PPDS session, what I do is I go and show you if lot for lot, what happens. Daily, how it plans. Weekly, how it happens. Hourly, how it happens. There is something called planning calendar. Lot size. Okay, so whenever you say planning calendar, it should be K. Okay, so whenever you have a period type as K, but daily it is D, isn't it? Daily it is D, weekly it is W. So like that, if it is a planning calendar, it is K. So what happens, your planner will say, I have resource capacity available for all the 5 days, Monday to Friday. But for this particular product, think that the product name is A. He tells me I want to produce only on Tuesday and Thursday. Other days I don't want to produce. Okay. So then lot for lot doesn't work, right? So how will you control it? But you can't block the resource. But the resource is open for all the 5 days in a week. So in such situation, what we do, we create a planning calendar. You can also restrict it to time also. He may say on Tuesday and Thursday I want it only afternoon 12 to 5 o'clock. That's it. So then we create time stream calendars, and there's a big way. We'll see that in API. So in such situation, we go into these lot sizes. Okay. So here you see planning calendar. In ECC also you can do. So yeah. In ECC also there is something called planning cycle here. See you guys, and then after this, after you've selected which lot size you want, I would rather prefer showing you guys how PPDS plans all this. This is very important. I'm telling you, if you sit with PPDS planner, if you just tell them daily requirements, weekly, they don't get it. You have to show them. See, these are your demands in the week. You have demands from Monday to Friday. When I say daily lot size, how PPDS plans, weekly how it plans. You have demands for the next 3 weeks. Okay, I'll say weekly lot size. How many weeks you have to tell? Now I'm saying daily lot size. How many days? 2 days, 3 days, 1 day. How many days of requirements it has to take? Okay, so that is called number of periods. Period is week. Number of periods is how many? So I'll show you all this in PPDS. You have to show all this to your planners, or else planners, Janak will know. If you don't know this, next day you're gone. You lose your job. Okay, so you have to be very thorough in all this, and that's how they operate. I mean, in India you can manage, but out of India, one instance that you don't know, next day you won't have your job. Okay, so you have to be very thorough. And other thing I want to talk about is planning time fence here. Very important. Do you guys know what is planning time fence?
Yeah, it's about phrasing, during which your plan, whatever, that is frozen. So system can't do the planning automatically. That is what ECC does, MRP.
So planning time fence is very important. Everywhere you go, anywhere, planning time fence is very important. Just to give you a heads up, just to show why they use it. Let's take 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take say 14 days. Normally, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I think that this is 14 days. Okay. Uh, in real time, what happens is PPDS planners think that this is Monday, this is Tuesday, this is Wednesday, this Thursday, this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, which is very good. So in standard practice, every Tuesdays we run production planning. Okay. Um, Wednesday they do detailed scheduling. So all your plan is finalized Thursday for this week, not for this week, because this week already I'm talking about current week now. This week the plan is already there. and the production is going on. So what I'm talking about, and this is frozen. So what happens on Tuesday when you do planning? They go and pick all these orders. Next week's orders. Next week, what needs to be produced next week? They'll go and schedule on Wednesday. So the next week's schedule is done on Wednesday. And then they'll discuss with the process team and they may do some changes and all, and they release the plan on Wednesday itself, so that process team will get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to organize their machines, their resources, their laborers, their raw materials. They get 4 days time. So you should always release the plan 4 to 5 days in advance. Or else if you go and tell process team, okay, produce it now, they say, I can't, I don't have stock, I don't have that, I don't have this. Laborers. So that's the reason Wednesday, by end of Wednesday, the plan is released to APO. So now, think that we are in this period. And I have a planning time fence of 7 days. Okay, so this period is, like Janak said, it's frozen. It's a frozen period. So all orders are scheduled in this period. There is nothing. And think that there is a new demand coming here. Suddenly you got a sales order for 200. See, this capacity is full. Monday to Sunday you have scheduled, capacity is full, you can't accommodate anything. So suddenly you got a demand, a sales order for 200. And you got to release some forecast for 100. Okay, so the new demands coming into system. So what will do? You need to produce it, but your capacity is full. So if you have planning time fence, these demands will be planned here. We'll simulate this in the system to have an understanding. So this planned order for 300 will be planned outside your planning time fence. Okay, and then there are a lot of challenges. Your planners will say, how do I know this planned order is for this? How do I know? Because the pegging will not happen. Even though PPDS plans it, because there is a demand, it plans outside. So there is no pegging relationship between this and this. They don't know why this planned order is there. They go to alerts, they'll say surplus. Then they have to go and see why this is surplus, what is the demand quantity, what is the receipt quantity, and it's a big exercise. So then, we can also make it fall here, and also that we'll see in PPDS how to do. But now talking about planning time frames, this is what we do. And there is a solution for all this. We'll talk about it when we get into planning board. We can make this 300 fall here. Okay. So those things we'll speak later. So this is planning time frame, just by the understanding. Okay. So planning cycle and planning calendar, and I told you why we use. It's because of uh, you know. You have a calendar, a planning calendar, okay, not a regular factory calendar. A planning calendar is when I'll show you how to create a planning calendar also. When I go to APO master data, I'll show you how to create time stream calendars, how to assign it to a location master and all. It will be very detailed, don't worry. Okay, and all this minimum lot size, maximum lot size, all this surrounding value, everything we'll see in. So why I'm showing this is, think that I put 10, I'll show you when I shift this, all these values will come to APO. Okay, let's go to the next tab. Here we have scheduling parameters which are helpful. Maybe I would say if you have extra procurement type here, we have special procurement type, right, for subcontracting, for stock transfer, alternate. So if you want to really use it, if you're really using it, and when you shift it to APO, it creates a transportation lane between your vendor and your manufacturing plant, or from your DC to your manufacturing plant. Automatically a transportation lane will be created if you use procurement type and special procurement. Okay, in APO we have another, I'll show you another procurement type called K, which we don't have in ECC. We'll speak about that when we talk product master session. And all other things are irrelevant for PPDS. Here it is relevant. In-house production time. Actually, if you think about this, GATP takes all this. Okay, so PPDS GR processing time is only valid for PPDS. Okay, in-house production time, in your PP consultants, you have two types of scheduling: basic scheduling, lead time scheduling. Lead time scheduling also doesn't look at in-house production time; it looks at your route. right? It doesn't look at you in. So in PPDS we do this finite planning, right? So we don't need this. In-house production time doesn't come to it. There is no field called in-house production time in APO. Okay, plant delivery time is there because for components and all we need it. So this is there, but in-house production itself is not there. But quickly I'll tell you, there is something called checking horizon in PPDS, APO, not PPDS, APO. We use it for multiple reasons. So checking horizon is checking horizon, check horizon. Interview question. Those guys who are in India. Okay. So how it comes? So how it comes is in-house production time plus GR processing time plus GR processing time together comes to APO as checking horizon for internal in-house production. That is for products which are produced in-house. The products which are produced externally, plant delivery time and GR processing time comes as checking horizon to APO. There is a field called checking horizon in product master. I'll show you. This is where it comes. And think that you don't have both maintained. Okay. Scheduling margin key doesn't come to APO. Okay. If you go to MRP 3, there is something called total replenishment lead time. Think that I have 10 here and I have 6 here. 5 plus 1 is 6. 5 plus 1 is 6, but this is 10. The checking horizon will be 10, not 6. So total replenishment lead time takes precedence. If you have not maintained total replenishment lead time, then APO will look at MRP2 tab. It will go and add these two or these two and populates your checking horizon with that value. Okay. And all the safety stock and all we'll talk there. We have something called days supply. Here also it is there. I think you guys already know. Minimum safety stock, safety time. What is the safety period you want? We'll talk about it. There's something called coverage. My coverage is 1 week of coverage. The demands of 1 week is my safety stock. In SNP we do safety stock planning and all those. You have target day supply, safety day supply and all in APO. So for that it takes value from here. So we'll definitely, it's what is the time now? We still have time. Quickly to talk about this, what I can talk now about safety day supply. We can talk about pegging. Think that you have safety day supply of 7 days in this example. So what I'm trying to do is there are two things. 7 days of demand should be planned here. The days cover. So I have covered 7 days of demands here. Okay, this is one way we do. Okay, days, if we have target days of supply, how many, what are you targeting? I'm targeting to produce today of 10 days demand. That is target day supply. Safety day supply is to be in the safer side. I consider my safety stock as 7 days of demand is my safety stock. So that is also you can do. Or and when we talk about pegging, think that you have a demand here of 100. So PPDS will plan here only. It won't plan here. PPDS will go and plan here because it looks at 7 days of safety stock, safety day supply. Okay, and think that you have a new demand coming up here 100. Okay, so PPDS will go and create a planned order for 200 here, 100 for this, 100 for this. But when it comes to pegging, this order 100 will be pegging to this. But 100 will never peg to this because it knows you are producing it very late. Even though you are producing it now, but it's late because you should have covered it before. So the planned order will not peg to this one, even though it has planned, but it will go and peg to this one. Now talking about this one, horizons, right? I told you PPDS will plan only for the demands which are here. It will never plan the demands which are outside PPDS horizon, right? Think that you have a safety day supply of 2 days. Okay, PPDS will still look at forecast of 2 days outside PPDS horizon because this demand it should be planned here. Got it? Because you have, this has to be produced in PPDS horizons, and your safety day supply is 2 days. That's why it crosses 2 days, looks beyond PPDS horizon, and if there is any demand outside PPDS horizon, which has to be covered here. Interview question. If they'll ask you PPD, what happened? They'll ask you, well, okay, is there any reason, good reason where PPDS can also go and look at outside PPDS horizon? You should say days cover, target day supply, safety day supply. If these values are maintained in APO, PPDS will definitely go and look beyond PPDS horizon, because it has to produce in PPDS horizon. But if the demand is third day, it will not plan. Then SNP will plan this. I hope you guys are getting. You guys are very silent, but if you're not getting, please, let me know.
Yeah, so the last part, like I couldn't understand, like the demand which is showing in H column that can be produced in PPDS horizon, but demand which is in I, so that part I didn't get.
Yeah, because my safety day supply is only 2 days. 2 days of supply should be planned here. Every day I want to cover 2 days of supply. So there is a forecast here. There is a forecast here. So PPDS horizon is this, right, till F.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes and looks
Yep.
at 2 days, because my days cover I have defined in product master 2 days. But this falls as a third day. So
Okay.
third day I
Yep.
have to produce here, right? And
Yep.
that falls in SNP horizon. So SNP takes care of it.
Okay.
Okay, but tomorrow, when I move, tomorrow if SNP has not covered this, PPDS will cover this also, because it knows that 2 days I need to cover.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yep.
day supply, target day supply, maybe you talk to your APO consultants. These are, they'll ask about all this. Client are very, especially FMCG.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's where we talk about all this. But definitely here we'll simulate in PPDS. All this will come while we are practicing. When we have all the master data, we can see all this, how it is planning, this kind of things. And this one is,
Okay.
strategy. Like we have make to stock, make to order. See here in PPDS, it doesn't really matter how consumption. Why we use strategy, make to stock strategy, make to order strategy. So think that we have strategy 10, core make to stock. PPDS will still give you the same results, because it's make to stock. It goes, looks at the demand, gives you planned order. And think that it is 40. Still it is same. For PPDs, it doesn't matter whether it's 10 or 40 or what. There's a demand, you need an order. That's all. But where it matters is when it comes to consumption. Okay. So when you want to consume it, you guys
Yep.
already, if it is 40, sales order will consume the forecast as soon as you create the sales order. You punch in the sales order, save the sales order, your forecast is gone. How it is gone? You have to define the mode. How it has to look. Okay. Backward consumption, forward consumption, forward, backward, whatever. So now normally what they use is backward, forward consumption they use. So how now I'm saying backward consumption per what? Okay, per days, per week, those kind of things. I'll say backward consumption, I'll say in days. Okay. Okay, sorry, backward consumption 10 days. This is the period it sees. Sorry, period indicator is this 10 days. Normally it can be week also. That's what we do. 10 days we go backwards, and then we go 10 days forwards. Okay. So for consumption of forecast, we use this. And mixed MRP and all for ECC, I think you know how mixed MRP uses. There's a strategy called strategy subassembly planning here, which is at 70. Okay, so
70.
70 strategy when you use mixed MRP, sometimes it's make to stock, sometimes it's make to order. Okay, so whenever you have that in ECC, we use mixed MRP indicator. Okay, but for PPDS, it's only demand and supply. Okay, so more, I would say it's more for how we want it to be planned. Other,
But
if
in
you
PP,
ask me
so sorry.
relevance at all, maybe for
Sorry.
mixed order, yes, you have relevance. If your strategy is 20, say your strategy you've given it as 20, in APO your orders in APO becomes fixed pegging relationship. Okay, by default PPDS will give you fixed pegging orders if your strategy is 20. It's a make to order. Yeah, Janak, you asked a question.
Yeah, so like there is a consumption and consumption periods and everything that is in APO as well, right? In APO master data. So from there it takes a precedence that consumption or takes from ECC.
It depends where your forecast is. If you are not maintained, if see we release demand to SNP, we release demand to
Mm-hmm.
ECC sometimes if they really want. You know MD61, MD62 and all in PIR. So the released demand, if you have released in ECC, and if you are not doing planning in APO, then it consumes in MD61. But
Yeah. Yeah.
if your forecast is in APO, it consumes in APO.
Yeah, so it's releasing into SNP and then PPDS, then of course it is only APO, right?
As soon as you release in a SNP, that's it. You do PPDS doesn't need it. If you get a sales order, it will consume. As long as the
Okay.
forecast and sales order both are in APO, see here in
Mm-hmm.
when you have APO, we never release demand to ECC. You don't need it. When we have demand
Okay.
planning, SNP, we don't release the forecast to ECC. Okay. So these
Mm-hmm.
values get shift to APO also, or you can maintain your own values in APO. So it's it's not that you have to maintain here. Okay, you can always maintain it there. Okay, and what else? Total replenishment time, availability check. Yeah, this is will give two. This has some daily. I think you guys know. So in PPDS planning also it has some impact. Um, one and two is widely used. What one will do is it will go and take all the daily requirements. This he was asking a question, right? Uh, I forget his name. Kandar. Okay, so availability check, what it does it in make to stock and make to order, and we have this daily requirements. It will go and take all the daily requirements and it will give you one planned order. Okay, daily requirements, one planned order. Think that you have 5 different demands, 10 different demands for a day. It gives you one plan. It makes sense. It gives you one planned order. Or if you give it as two, which I've given, which is independent, which is individual. Every demand will have a separate planned order. Okay, so and the problem is this is not independent to MRP. If you go to sales views, if you change here, there also it changes. So SD consultants are the ones who decides this, not PP consultants. Okay, whatever SD consultants decide, that comes here. We don't have any luxury to have our own
Hmm.
and their own. Okay, so that is the challenge here.
Hmm.
And here we'll, maybe in the next tomorrow we'll be creating BOM routing and all. So we'll be creating production versions. I'll show you all those kind of things. Individual and collective requirement, you guys know, like what I'm talking. Individual requirements only. See, for make to stock we use collective. For make to order we use individual requirement only. It's a thumb rule. And I told you that strategy 70 mixed MRP and all. This plays a big role there. Okay, so make to stock, make to order. Okay, so when make to order, what it should do? Make to order, what whether it should be collective. Make to stock, it should be collective. Make to order, it should be individual. So whenever you use mixed MRP, then this matters a lot. Okay, but thumb rule is make to stock, make to order. Normally you can just leave it like this blank. You don't need to have it. PPDS has no relevance. If you keep it like this, there's a default value which comes to APO. I'll show you when I get into product master. Okay, and discontinued indicator also we do in APO. We call it product interchangeability in APO. Okay, it falls in SNP, but we can make it work in PPDS also. Okay, so if you discontinue some product, we have to mention when. Okay, and what is the follow-up product. And until the stock of this primary product is consumed, it will never plan for follow-up material. It goes and consumes all the leftover stock of the basic material, and then it will start planning for the follow-up material. Even in ECC it's the same, and APO also will do the same thing. And repetitive manufacturing, if it is REM profile and all, this doesn't come to APO. This entire doesn't come to APO. What comes to APO is fair share rule, push distribution, deployment horizon. This is all SNP. Fair share rule is used when the supply is less, demand is more. You need to share it, right? You have to be fair. You can't simply give it to one person. So we have some fair share rule. Push distribution is when your demand is less, supply is more. We push the supply to your DC, and in what horizon we define it. This is for deployment in TLB, not for PPDS. Okay. Work scheduling view has no relevance to APO. Only thing is production scheduling profile should be maintained. Because in APO, when I convert PPDS planned order to production order, it comes and looks at order type, right? You need order type in ECC. So order type is always linked to your production scheduling profile. So that's why. Or else in PPDS you can't convert. So that's the reason we always come and see whether production scheduling profile is maintained or not. Okay. See all the setup time, interoperation time, processing time, base quantity, all these things I'll talk in. Let me remove this. Okay. I'll talk in the routing. Okay. In the routing we do all this. I don't want to do it product specific. We can do it operation specific for this product. Okay. Plant data storage. I think Janak has worked on all this. We have shelf life planning. Okay, if you're doing shelf life planning, you need to maintain all this. What is the total shelf life of your product? Okay, I'll say 10 days is my shelf life. Okay, what is the minimum required shelf life? I'll say 3-4 days. Okay, um, shelf life should be in what period? Daily or in days or in weeks or whatever you can mention. So all these things will come to APO. In APO, we have extensive shelf life parameters. Okay, sorry, some construction is going on next house. Noise is there. Sorry about that. And we will do shelf life. I'm a shelf life. I won't say expert, but I've done a lot of work in shelf life. So we'll see all this in APU. Okay. So Fontera without shelf life, implementation. They produce tons of milk every day, and if we don't take action tomorrow, it's all gone. Shelf life is one day. It's so critical, fast moving. So we've done a lot of work on shelf life there, in CTM and in PPDS. Um,
So currently, what we are working on, that shelf life is like hours. It's like a lifetime, like life decaying, half life. Every few hours, it's a half life. The product is gone.
is it?
So that sort of yeah.
Hmm.
So that's a decaying. So 7 days is a maximum, the life. But if it is next day, it is half life. Then it is useless. So you need to waste it.
Oh,
Means it's a nuclear kind of product.
okay. Okay. Then
So
I think
just heads up. So yeah,
CTM in your implementation.
yes, CDM and CDM,
Yeah.
DP, CDM, and this PPDS.
Yeah.
So that's why I've got some question related to CTM and all. But as we go, I may ask, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm little DP, I'm DP and little SNP, but I'm not at all CTM and that's this PPDS side.
See
I'm
CTM.
handling execution part.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry. No. CTM. In such scenario, we have CTM for a different reason. Standard CTM will not fulfill this requirement. You can talk to your CTM consultant. They have to
Yeah.
activate a
As
badge.
well as we have got lots of development. I'll tell you because we need to consider that decay,
Mm.
half-life. We have to consider the priority because this organization is not a fully commercial organization. That is like some customers. Like these are the products which are being used for the cancer treatment and detection.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah, I mean CTM also doesn't do what you're asking. But there is a baddie. So I'll tell you what we did. I'll tell you, and we can discuss about
I'm
it.
probably bad.
Yeah, we use CTM, and now now I heard in Fontera they are using heuristic there because it was too complex. Even in your implementation, that will happen eventually. CTM is very
Yeah,
complex.
yeah.
They are very
So
exact.
that's what we have to take a decision because it's up to client because there are lots of wish
No,
lists.
client
So
want it
I
because
don't.
it's spending money, right? They say we want it, but they'll realize when
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get into UAT stage, user acceptance testing, they'll realize how complex it is, and they'll say, "What is this? Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want." Um, and that
We
has
have got a critical phase to come. We have got a critical phase to come. Like, right now, what they are going with, I'm not sure because the budget is very limited, and against that, there were lots of requirements. We'll talk. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk about it.
Cool.
And that's about material master here. So what we'll do is we'll today. What happened? Oh, okay. Price valuation. What is that? Finished product 7920. I'll just save it. I'll create one SFG today. We still have time, so that tomorrow we can talk about BOM routing works. Tomorrow we'll create a work center first, because work center we need to talk a lot here. Formulas. PPDS had to considers all this, formulas and all those kind of things. Work center formulas. So tomorrow we'll talk about work center first, and then we'll get into BOM. We'll get to routing. I think we need entire session tomorrow for routing. Also has so many things. Semi-finished product. Okay, so let's copy from JN. Okay, let's have one set of data. I'll be moving raw material also to APO, because I want to show how purchase requisitions are created. And, oh shit, I didn't change the metal type. No problem. I want purchasing view for this, or else purchase requisitions will not be created. This one should be 3000. Oh yeah, metal type we didn't change. Huh? Okay. What is the transaction MMA, right? So new metal type is raw material. It is semi-finished goods. Done. That's all right. Cannot be changed. Reason the new metal type requires all the following data for the metal space. Sales data. Anyway, I don't want to get into this now. So anyway, I'll create a new raw metal type. Because sales data is there, it's not changing. So let's do it. So guys, any questions so far with whatever we spoke? You want me to change the style of teaching? Please tell. If I'm fast, if I'm slow, I don't know. But I go with the norm.
It's perfect for me.
Yeah. So, Kandar,
Too. It's okay for me too.
so far it's good, is it? Okay. Nice. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll catch up tomorrow at the same time, 7 o'clock, and we'll learn work center. Very critical. We need to learn about capacities, and there are a lot of things to talk about in work center. We need 30 minutes only for work center tomorrow. And then we'll get into BOM. We'll see what are the important fields in BOM for PPDS. Then we'll get into routing. Routing is simple, but if you go to that operations, header, there's so many things that we need to talk about: split and all this interoperation times, setup groups and keys. So uh, tomorrow's session will be very interesting. So you guys,
So you'll be covering that single and multi activity and all that stuff.
will do.
Or
Yeah, we'll do.
oh,
Will not.
great, great. Thank you. Thanks.
1 second. My number is 192. Okay. So if you guys have any question, um, anything, you can call me. Okay.
Well,
So
I'll give you a call. Can I give you a call straight after the session?
yeah, now only. I mean, after the session, you can. Why you want to spend? You can talk in this call only. If I
No,
just
no, no. That's fine. I haven't got anything special. But yeah, so like I said.